We're doing an emergency golf podcast. Rahm To LIV? Looks like that's going to happen. Live trades, rollbacks on golf balls. I got DB, David Barnett from the Tour Junkies joining me. Christopher Powers from Golf Digest joining me. I asked for a bunch of mailbag questions. Those start around the 52-minute mark, and we try to cover everything that has been going on in the world of golf, including getting your entries into the race for the Mayo Cup Giant One and Done, fantasygolfchampionships.com. You can find it down in the description right now if that's the easy way that you want to do it. You can have up to 5 entries. It's 1 pick per week. Once you pick that golfer once, you can no longer do it again. There is $800,000 guaranteed in the prize pool this year. Now, it is $200 per entry. That is up from $125, but this runs from January through August. It's like $6 a week, and it is the least time-consuming thing that you're going to do in terms of betting, in terms of fantasy golf, whatever it might be, and it's a great way for even the person who is the most casual golf fan to get in. It's already over 10% full, and this doesn't start for another month. And inevitably, what happens every single year is that after it's full, people are like, oh yeah, I meant to join. Well, don't do that this time around and then bother me after it's full. Just get your spot right now. Get your dad one for Christmas. There you go. There's a good Christmas gift, actually. If they like golf and you like golf, it's something to talk about. You guys can make your picks together. There's a ton of ways to do this. fantasygolfchampionships.com. All right? Let's get into the show. Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings, an emergency podcast and video for you, the people out there. It looks like Jon Rahm is going to the LIV Tour. This is going to be an all-golf show, by the way. You know, if you're here for football, it ain't happening. It's all golf today, but it looks like Rahm's going to LIV. That's not official as of right now, but it was reported by the Telegram, and it was reported by the Wall Street Journal earlier today, and he has not denied it, so it's probably going to be a done deal at some point in the near future. So I want to talk through that, the implications of the LIV Tour, the PGA Tour, what this means. I have some mailbag questions from you, the good people out there, towards the end of the show, and in between, I want to talk about Rollback, because I don't understand what any of this means or why it impacts me personally in my golf game. So I brought in 2 people who can help shed some light on this subject. First up, we have David Barnett of the Tour Junkies. David, how are you?
Happy to be here. I did think this was a Grant Thornton Invitational DraftKings show, so I don't know how prepared I'll be, but thanks for having me, Pat. Happy to be here on a nice December day with some golf to talk about.
If there's nothing else, that golf in December, that's really the hotbed season. We have some live trades going on that we could possibly talk about as well, because there's one of them that's just absolutely egregious. But to talk rollbacks and all this through with us from Golf Digest, a friend of mine. I think it's your first time on the show. It's Chris Powers. What's up?
What's going on, Pat? Very excited. It is my debut. Been waiting a long time for this one, so super excited.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Don't worry about that. Like, it's people are gonna be like, man, I can't believe you were on with Mayo. I thought you had better taste than that.
No, I do not. I definitely do not, actually.
Okay, so let's talk about Jon Rahm potentially going to LIV. We're going to act like this is a done deal. If it's not a done deal, then all of a sudden, you know what, I'll say, Pat was wrong. I do that a lot, so it's common stuff for me here. But I went through part of this take with Feinberg and Tim on the Spread Pick show, but I know a lot of golf people don't watch the football show and vice versa. So I guess my entire point with Rahm going to LIV, I'm very happy for the guy. I like Jon Rahm. Get that bag, man. $500 million, $600 million. No one in their right mind is turning this down. Even though you will see very pious people on the internet say, you know what? You could pay me $50 billion and I wouldn't go. Not a chance. You're definitely going to go. That's how this works. Everyone would end up going for this amount of money unless they thought they could make it somewhere else. And I think that's one of the reasons why we saw a lot of the big name players who are now rumored to be jumping from PGA to LIV not go the first time around, that there was either promises or some sort of deals cut behind the scenes that, hey, maybe you won't get to $750 million or $300 million, but you'll get to $100 million, $150, $200 million based on the deals that we have set up. Now, it sounds like that was an absolute load of crap. That's never going to happen. But here's the sneaky thing. I like Jon Rahm. I like watching Jon Rahm on Sundays, but I am not going to not watch the American Express because Jon Rahm isn't there. People forget, and this is mostly an online thing, so you have a little tight-knit group community. There's a lot of groupthink, and people who really do care about this stuff. A lot of people watching this show care a lot about this. I care a lot about this, but I don't think this means one iota to the PGA Tour's bottom line. If anything, it might save them some money. It might hurt them with sponsors and title sponsors for tournaments and getting people to actually show up for the course. But the ratings are not going to be affected 1 ounce if no one is there. You know what people didn't watch? The Mexico Open, when Jon Rahm was basically the only star besides Tony Finau. When only Tony Finau shows up to the Mexico Open this year, the same amount of people are not going to watch it. So Jon Rahm is not a needle mover. There is one needle mover on earth right now who still plays golf, and his name is Tiger Woods. You can try to make whatever case that you want for Rory, for Spieth, for Fowler, for Rahm. I think those first 3 are more impactful than Jon Rahm is, because this is an American-based tour. Those are American players. That's just kind of the way this goes. I mean, Rory's not an American player, but you get what I'm saying. English is his first language, and he's been around for so long playing on the PGA Tour. People just assume that he's American at this point. Unless you hear him talk, then obviously the Irish comes out in him. But Bryson was the most impactful person who went to the LIV Tour in terms of actually moving the needle on any of this stuff. He is a real character. He has real personality. People like or dislike him. They have real opinions. No one has an opinion on Jon Rahm. Yeah, he gets angry sometimes. He's like kind of chunkier Tyrrell Hatton for most people out there. That's all it's going to be. And what's it going to do for the LIV Tour? Oh, it's just another name to add to a sport that no one watches. So it doesn't really do anything for LIV. Does it make it more intriguing? Sure, I guess. If you were interested in it to begin with, I suppose it's now more interesting because there's more good players there. That's fine. I'll turn it on if I have a bet on it. That's about it. If I can find it on my TV dial, but it's certainly not appointment viewing, and it does nothing for the PGA Tour. All this does is just continue to enhance what the majors mean to everyone. The tournaments that people actually watch in the first place. If anything, all I hear about is this doom and gloom for the PGA Tour. I'm not going to watch the PGA Tour anymore. Yes, you will. If you've been watching it for the past 10 years and you've seen the product slip as far as it is, you're still going to watch the PGA Tour because Jon Rahm left. Oh, I'm so sorry. Didn't realize you were a big Rombo fan. Now, you're going to tune in to see if Eric Cole can beat Chris Kirk in a playoff because you probably bet on Eric Cole. That's the way that all of this works. I don't think it means anything. All the talk of the doom and gloom are just people who want their voices to be heard and to out themselves as fucking whiners. It's not going to change whatsoever. Now, you guys might feel differently than I do. So DB, I'll throw it to you. Do you think this actually matters?
Well, the risk of being a fucking whiner. I think you're probably right in terms of regular eyeballs watching golf. I do think that Rahm is a needle mover, like as a whole. If we really zoom out and we think about the popularity of golf in general, like the fracturing has been the thing that's turned people off. Like I've seen people on the internet, I've heard it from our own listeners. We do a survey every year of our Discord members, and some of the stuff that comes back is just a general lack of interest in golf, or their interest in golf waning due to the fracturing of the sport. And even though yes, I agree, I think it adds more cachet to the majors. I think if it really comes down to those 4 events a year, maybe 5 if you want to add the players in there, it starts to be just a more out of sight, out of mind thing for a very casual fan or a new fan that just kind of got into it, and then all this happened. I think Rahm is a name that moves the needle from a damn, like this is really getting shitty, like this is getting more and more fractured with more and more players divided. I think he's that, and I may agree that, from, like I said, from an average eyeball watching on TV every weekend, maybe it doesn't do a lot. And for our audiences, it definitely does probably nothing, because we are degenerates betting on exactly what you said, Eric Cole and Chris Kirk. But I just think that the fracturing continues to be a problem for the general popularity of the game. And Rahm is a name that I think people kind of go, dang, like they're going to be taken aback when, if that's the case, more so than a Xander or a Cantlay or somebody like that. I think he's one of the top 4 or 5 names that are going to make people kind of raise an eyebrow and go, golly, like this continues to be a frustrating thing in the world of golf, and it might turn some people off just in general.
I would agree that he's, let's say, a top 10 name in terms of importance to golf right now, and especially notoriety, worldwide, whatever it might be. But I think that there, like I said, is one person who actually matters. So if you're number 6, who cares? What are you seeing from this, Chris? Because I think that your audience at Golf Digest is a little bit different than the audience that I interact with, that DB interacts with over at the Tour Junkies, where, hardcore gamblers, daily fantasy players, big time golf enthusiasts. Although I wouldn't say that it's a casual crowd consuming Golf Digest, I do think that you would probably get the reactions of more casual people than we would, just because you're a much bigger publication.
Yeah, well, I'm actually part of the group you guys are a part of as well. So I agreed with a lot of what you said, Pat. I'm still gonna, be up in the morning on Amex week and following who I have, for first round leader. But yeah, to what
Siwoo, by the way, Siwoo, by the way.
To DB's point, I do agree. I think it is turning off people just in general from golf, all this kind of fracturing and what to care about, what to pay attention to. And Rahm is obviously a major cog in all of that. But if you really are such a Rambo fan, like you said, Pat, I think part of the reason he's making this move, I know it's not official yet, is that he is set for the majors. He's in the Masters the rest of his life. He's set for the other majors for the next 5 years. When you win one, you get into the next 5 years of him. Obviously, he'll be in the U.S. Open for the next 10 years. He won that, or 8 years, because that was 2 years ago. So on the 4 biggest weeks of the year, when it matters, you're going to get your fill of Jon Rahm if you so desperately need it. And like you said, Pat, with each passing day, it's starting to become that only those 4 weeks of the year matter. And those are the 4 weeks that the casual fans kind of tune into anyway. So sadly, Honda Classic, like we've mentioned, and the Amex, they're going to have less stars. But the diehards like us are still going to be checking in on those. And I think this Rahm move also, with all this framework agreement talk, I think we're looking at a sport in a couple of years where these guys are playing both tours if this agreement kind of comes to light. So I don't really think this is like goodbye Jon Rahm forever.
No, like we're going to have DB like a Ryder Cup style event in 2 years where it's PGA guys versus Euro guys versus Live guys. That's going to happen.
I mean, everybody's throwing that out, a year ago, 2 years ago, and all this started popping off, and nobody thought it would ever happen. And it's become more and more realistic it could happen. It'd be an electric event. I would love to see it. So yeah, I'd be pumped for that. And I agree with Chris. I do think this is going to, and that's another way Rahm's kind of a needle mover. I think he's a needle mover to the PGA Tour, and an alarm going off different for a guy like Jon Rahm at the tour, if he dips, the guys that could follow and what that means to the PGA Tour is interesting. So it's I don't know if Liv is doing this as a bargaining chip. Seen that idea floating around as the PIF is supposed to be agreed upon by the end of this month. But if it is, it's probably a smart move on their part. It's going to force the tour to do something. I feel like the tour has to do something. We're all just waiting. Like, can we just do something? Can we make this right somehow? But I also had the thought, like, Rahm's been pretty adamant against it, right? I mean, he talked about his fealty to the tour, and he talked about how money never played for money and blah, 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 which, listen, you could totally say, like, yeah, everybody says that until, they open the briefcase and there's $500 million in it, right? But at the same time, like, wouldn't it be kind of like, there's a little part of me that's like, Rahm is kind of to me, he could be kind of a low-key troll in this, and like the rumors start swirling, and he knows he's not doing it. He's not going. And the way that he can just get it to an absolute sure thing, just absolute peak of Rahm's at Live, it's happening, is by saying nothing, is by doing what he's doing, not acknowledging it on social, not making a statement, not coming out and talking against it. And then he lets it build to this massive crescendo of everyone in the golf world thinking that Rahm's going. And then he just pops up and he's like, dude, I told you guys I was never going to that league. I'm not going. Like, F those guys. Like, I think that could be kind of funny. And there's a part of me that could see Rahm doing it. I don't think it's happening, but there's a small part of me that's like, Rahm could really troll all of Liv and do that.
I mean, he'd be trolling me and us right now.
Yeah, I know, everybody, but especially Liv, who's like cheering already and fitting him for his uniform.
Well, here's the funny thing, and to my point about the beginning, where I don't think it actually matters, and it's kind of a twofold point, is one, if only the majors matter, well, that's no real difference than any other year in golf history. Those are the four things that matter. Maybe, like you said, a little bit of the players, but when you take a look at the ratings, that unless Tiger is playing, that's what matters. And the Heritage did really well when Spieth was in contention for a tournament. Shocker. Spieth is actually someone who moves the needle on this stuff. But with Rahm, how many more viewers, Chris, do you think that LIV will have because Jon Rahm plays on their tour? One?
Not too many. And again, just to go back to, casual tour viewers, like think about all the dads out there that they're not tuning in on Sunday because, oh my God, they're tuning in because it's Torrey Pines on Sunday. I'm just speaking for my dad personally. This is Torrey week. This is Pebble week. It's Sunday, put on the back nine and fall asleep and take a nap. So yeah, to go back to your point, he's not the needle mover I think people are making him out to be. So yeah, maybe 10 more people watch LIV because they're such diehard Rahm fans. But yeah, these guys all kind of overinflate their importance, as we've seen over the last few months. The Patrick Cantlays and Xander Schauffele's and Chris Strouds of the world kind of think they're far more important than they are. And I think as good as Rahm is, he's got a little personality and he's solid with the media, I don't think he's, like you said, Pat, the needle mover that anyone is kind of making him out to be.
I do find it strange, though, that, these guys are just, LIV has forced, it's an interesting play by LIV, and it's super smart if you want to cause chaos. And I actually think all the chaos is going to end up being a really good thing for the game of golf. We're going to go through a dark period where if we're going to talk about bifurcation a little bit later on, that we're getting that right now in terms of where the talent is going to go. Hell, you can call it try if you want, because there's still decent players on the European tour, although that tour is the one that's been completely decimated of all of its talent at this point, because even the bigger guys that would normally stay are now just leaving for America, or they're trying to get onto the LIV tour right now. But for years I've talked about, like the DraftKings Open. This is a way to bring in potential new sponsors because, hey, Honda doesn't want to re-up anymore because Jon Rahm's not going to play at our tournament. Maybe American Express doesn't. It will set a new market, and maybe the market is not as high, and maybe golfers aren't going to make $500 million. But here's the thing. LIV can, as it's been said from the beginning, LIV could lose billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars every single year and not care. And now we're trying to compete with that. That's not how businesses work. And maybe the Saudi prince just likes golf and he wants to waste $40 billion over the next 7 years. But it's not a real business. It doesn't make any money. It's like everyone who's saying, oh, you can buy a piece of Bryson's franchise. For what? $10? It's not worth anything. None of this stuff is worth anything. If it was any normal company, they would just be bankrupt because these guys, like Chris said, aren't worth that much money. So we're going to get a hard reset on everything. These guys are going to be paid out by LIV. We're going to get a merger, and then stuff is going to reset. So bringing in gambling companies as the primary sponsor for some of these things, newer, different brands. But DB, part of the audience that we deal with a lot is I wouldn't say, listen, we're not young by any point, but for the golf world, we are young. Either early 30s, mid 30s, early 40s, whatever it might be. That's still on the bottom end of the spectrum for golf viewers. So when it comes to ratings and things like that, you do have your four majors, you have the Ryder Cup when it's in America, not a goofy time zone. And then you have, like Chris said, you have Torrey Pines, you have Pebble Beach, you have Arnold's tournament, and just the bigger ones, the more historic ones that people just get accustomed to throughout time. But most of these viewers, when you take a look at the demographics, are 55 plus, 65. They're not turning the channel. This is what they do on Sundays, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. By the way, Pat, I hit the big 40 in 2 weeks. Ooh. So I don't know what that qualifies me as. If I'm still young, if I'm old, I don't know. I feel like I'm going to die. Yeah, I think that would be brilliant. To bring in some of the sports books and fantasy company, gaming company, stuff like that, to bring in that younger audience. We might get to see a touch of what that looks like at this year's Waste Management when DraftKings Sportsbook opens up, or they're already opened on property there at TPC Scottsdale. But I would imagine they'll have quite the presence. That place is already influencer central. That's already like the influencer orgy in all of golf. So now you throw in DK Sportsbook opening up and the content they'll be doing, it'll be unbelievable. So it'll kind of be interesting to see that. I think that would be a way to do it. God, all the other sponsors are just, they're like life insurance companies or something, mortgage companies or whatever. It just, nobody can afford a mortgage in the 25 to 35-year-old range these days anyway. So Yeah, that would be an interesting take. There's a lot of things they could do to improve the product. I think the schedule's another one, right? We need to be taking advantage of dead spots in the year in terms of, major sports, NBA and NFL, which I guess we kind of do, moving some of the majors around as we have. And then the TV product is obviously trash. We could go on forever talking about that. And there's plenty of outlets that cover that nicely. So there's a lot of things they could do different. I think from another angle, the betting side, I think when golf when golf rolls out the live betting stuff, when these sports books start to deal a little more in the live betting props side of things, I think that could keep some young folks' interest if they're gamblers. And I think golf is a prime sport to be able to capitalize on that as opposed to other sports, just with how slow it moves. It's good for the lines, good for the bettors. So I think that could be another angle that hopefully is coming down the road. I know the tour is doing things to prepare for that, but God knows what they're going to do with a possible merger here.
Well, as someone who's been kind of on the other side of some of these deals as well about live betting, who put it into people's head? Like, I understand the churn rate on live betting, the amount of VIG that gets piled up for each of the sports books, but every single person who doesn't work on the sports betting side, but wants to be involved in the sports betting business, all they talk about, Chris, is live betting. But I don't know that many people that live bet any sport. Like, people like to make their bet, then watch the game. And like, if they're down at half, maybe then they'll get in. But like, what sort of ADHD freak is going to be fucking live betting 8 golfers every 10 seconds? Like, that seems insane.
Yeah, I don't even know how people are quick enough to do it a lot of times, especially when we're all streaming and we're all 5 minutes behind. I know I've gotten caught, betting a +7 NFL team and then seeing the next play and it's a touchdown for the other team. And it made a lot of sense why I got such a great line. So yeah, it's funny you say that, Pat. I've noticed that too. Anytime we're talking about stuff like this, like, oh, the next frontier, it's always that live betting phrase that has kind of been around for a while. If you're smart enough and sharp enough to open up your sports book, you know how to do it, and it's still always talked about like we're like 3 or 4 years away from it. It's kind of here, and people do it here and there, but yeah, it's a dangerous game. It's especially dangerous in golf with so many holes and such a large window, a television window to kind of watch it.
But I think that's where the opportunity is, though, right? Like if you're live betting golf, like maybe it's probably not wise to, if they're standing on the tee on a par 3, to go ahead and fire that bet on who's going to be closest to the pin, because there's lag there.
But that is what people would bet on, though. Like, that's what people would be interested in betting on. Like, you must know this. People aren't
but if you
sharp.
could throw this up 2 holes, if they're on number 7 and the hole they're talking about is number 9, and there's so many holes, so many groups out there that there's so many options for these people to, for these people to capitalize on.
Oh, absolutely. Like, the move is designate, especially, if there's a drivable par 4, that'd be even better. But designate 1 par 3 on the front and 1 par 3 on the back. Have live streams of both those channels. Designate those as the closest to the pinhole, and you can bet on those all day long with all the groups coming through at any time that you want to. That makes perfect sense.
And then have a gambling feed.
That's a build. It's like someone asked me about doing live content. It's like, well, there you can get some great odds live. I was like, I agree. Most of the best bettors I know do just kind of take advantage of books sleeping a little bit and bet live. Like, Paul has been basically banned from every sports book because he makes so much money betting MMA live. Like, he's good at it. And he had to get cable to make sure he has like the actual pay-per-view feed, so he's not on delay. And that's always a problem with super quick style bets, but you have to bet in between rounds with that kind of thing. And he's really good at it. And I know a lot of really good live bettors, but that's not how 99% of people like to bet. They like to put in the money, and then they like to sit there and watch it and see what happens. It's an entertainment play, not a sharp play and like really trying to get the best odds. Most people don't try to get the best odds. They wish they could get the best odds. Hell, some of them even think that they're getting the best odds. They just don't know any better. And this is the stuff that they want to bet on. But this one would make perfect sense. The whole thing that I kind of bring up is that tearing down the PGA Tour, putting it into a dark place, and making it search for other sources of revenue to prop itself back up is the spot where I think that as consumers is where we want to be 5 years from now. There's going to be, like I said, that dark period in between where they get their shit together, but eventually they're going to have to start doing the revenue generating things like we've always kind of talked about, right?
100%. Yeah. Well, the dark ages, it feels like we've already been going through it. But if it might, it might get darker for sure. So, but I do agree. I think at the end of it all, it will come out to be a better product. I mean, that's what competition does, right? That's what everybody said when Liv showed up, is like, well, you can hate it, but the competition is likely to do something overall good for the whole product. And I do see where that's probably inevitable at this point.
I will say, Chris, sports washing works. Because no one's talking about, no one cares that it's the Saudis anymore. They're just mad that the big players are leaving.
That's true. It does work. And that's what people said would happen. Some super smart people at the beginning said it would work, and it definitely has. That's an interesting point.
But I guess the big thing is almost to talk about, because Liv is so important to us in this space for what it's doing to something that we really enjoy. Does the bigger world at large even care about this, or they're just like, what's going on in golf?
Yeah, exactly. The casuals really could care less. Yeah, that's why you run into people all the time. When this all started, this Liv stuff, every time someone would come out to me, be like, can you explain what's happening here? I'd be like, well, like the old Clayton Bigsby, how much time you got, buddy? And because it's really too much to even explain, to condense to a casual fan who's just coming up and asking you what the hell's happening.
I really wish this turned out sort of like the XFL the first time around, where the NFL just took all the good parts of the XFL and incorporated it into their product to make their product better. There is stuff that Liv does that I think is actually objectively good. Like, I think there are too many golf tournaments on the PGA Tour that are exactly the same. UFC is encountered exactly the same thing. When I talk to Paul and Cody and they do their MMA show every single week, they're like, once they figured out during the pandemic they could save all of this money at the UFC Apex, they just started running the shittiest cards in the world, and it just diluted the product to a point where people are subbed, like they're getting their money. They owe ESPN Plus, all of these fight cards, so why not do it for as cheaply as possible? Before, when they actually had to go sell tickets, and we saw this week with like UFC Austin, or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, that they actually had to put on a good card because they needed people to show up to the stadium to watch the fights go down. Where when you get these UFC Apex cards in Vegas, like, no one cares anymore, but you need to run it out, and it caused apathy with a lot of fans because there's just too much of it going on. And I feel like if we could cut down on the number of tournaments on the PGA Tour, DB, and maybe incorporate the Liv team style thing to maybe not 18 events, have like a 6-event series where you do play as a team. I think now we're starting to kind of get the stew of what we need to make this more exciting and make tournaments a little bit different. The problem is with a lot of these things is, yeah, the Masters is great. The Open Championship is great. Well, why is the Byron Nelson great? It's exactly the same as those tournaments, but with worse players.
Yeah, I think it's probably something between. It's still got to be something between what Liv does and what the tour does, right? Like, because I mean, nobody watches the Zurich. Nobody watches the. Nobody's going to watch the Grant Thornton right now. I mean, part of that's because it's December, but nobody's going to watch that either. So, but yet we love watching. I think the formatting thing has to be discussed. I think Liv should even lean into something like this, where it's not just stroke play, but you're a team, right? Because really, it's very little team aspect to it. You wear the same shirt and your scores are all aggregated together at the end, but there's no alternate shot. There's no match play element to it at all. So there's got to be some difference there. But then the tour goes and gets rid of the match play, which I liked. Like, I guess it didn't do very well overall, maybe, or the players didn't. I don't know, but like, I actually liked.
I hated it.
The Dell match play because it was different.
I loved the first 3 days of it. I hated the weekend before it, and that's the time when people actually watch golf. And when golf is not fun, when you're watching two guys walk down a fairway. And that's it.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah, they ran into a problem on the weekend. Although, I mean, the matches were pretty good this year, I will say that. As someone who had both Sam Burns and Cam Young outright. So I think there's got to be something in between there, right? Like Liv's doing some things good with the team, but they're also not all the way getting it. And the team thing hasn't worked on the tour yet. But I do agree overall, like familiarity breeds contempt. Every time we see the same thing over and over again, it just continues to it lulls us to sleep. So we need some innovators and some new creative thinkers making these decisions. Who knows if we're going to get them? We're not going to get them until Jay Monahan's gone. I'll tell you that. But yeah,
he's got to be on his last legs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he desperately wants it all to end.
Why doesn't he just quit? Honestly.
Because he said he doesn't run away from a fight. I think that was the quote I saw last week, even though that's precisely what he did a few months ago. But yeah, I don't know. He's in too deep now.
Or is there some kind of like, is he thinking there's some kind of payout option where like part of the deal is they break him off and he leaves like a Jimbo Fisher or something? He just gets paid, a ton of money to get away?
Well, I mean, it's funny that people are gonna hold like Rob, like, oh, I can't believe he's taking this money to go play on Live. And Monahan's here. Monahan, who probably has more money than God at this point. You're the commissioner of the PGA Tour. It's like, oh, I'm gonna hang on to make this terrible deal to quote save the PGA Tour, so I can get paid out $100 million for the rest of my life to do nothing, to go away.
Yeah.
I do like. Chris, did you watch any of the Live final? I like that last weekend where it's more of the team concept where it's match play.
Yep.
And it's like best 2 out of 3 with the 4 guys on your team. It's like 2 singles matches and then like a pairs match in match play against each other. Like, I think that format, if you had it like smaller, fewer times a year with PGA Tour guys and Live guys, I think that's a great way to merge the two and have them compete.
I actually think that, well, as much as I hated the idea of Tiger Woods hitting it into a screen, that TGL was onto something there. Yeah. And obviously they kind of copied Live a little bit, but
no one wants to watch fucking simulator golf. Are you kidding me?
But like you said,
the simulator was 80 yards away. It would fly a little bit.
Oh yeah, great. Fantastic. Like that
I think the idea.
I can't think of a worse idea than that idea.
Yes, I agree with that. I thought it was awful. I hate simulator golf. Personally, I would hate watching it even more, but the idea of this team versus this team on this night, that's very easy to follow and understand, especially for us dumb Americans, and a schedule, an 8-game schedule. And like you said, fewer times a year, Monday nights in prime time, what have you, but that's obviously only for simulator golf. So you can do it indoors. But yeah, I think they are onto something there. I did not watch any of that Live final, but the way you're describing it sounds pretty easy to follow and understand.
Yeah, and it actually incorporated the team aspect of it, which was DB's whole thing. Like, even with the Zurich, like, at least Live gets the point of, hey, we have the same team all year long, so you can kind of understand on whose team. It really just seems at the Zurich, like, Cantlay's going to play with Xander, Burns is going to play with Horschel, and then like it's like they pick names out of a hat. Like these people have never met each other before.
It's a member, man. You just text your buddy like 2 months ahead of time, and you're like, hey, you want to play the member together? And hopefully he's not taken by somebody else, and you guys agree and you go on. You pick a walk-up song and you do your hit and giggle and you go. I think the team thing, Liv keeps them throughout the end of the year, and I maybe this is our transition into the latest Liv announcements for these teams, which is laughable. But it seems like nobody can really get the team thing right, and that's hard to understand. Like, it's not hard to understand that, like, for people to have any sort of loyalty to a team, there has to be some kind of connection. Like, there's no connection. It's just, let me close my eyes and pick 4 dudes and put them together and give them a pink hoodie. And now all of a sudden you should have some sort of fan loyalty to this group of guys. And it's just so random that the TGL was doing the same thing with, one of the only teams that had been filled out was the Atlanta Drive, which maybe is the team I'm supposed to cheer for, being in Augusta. And none of them had any ties to Atlanta. Like there's no draft. There's no tie even to one player, a captain or anything like that. There's nothing to connect these people. And like, we're kind of big dumb animals when it comes to sports, but we're not that dumb. Like, I'm not looking at Lucas Glover and going, oh man, like this is exactly what I needed. I need Lucas Glover on Atlanta Drive or what. So they're making no connection with this. And if there's no relegation and there's no promotion, which is a thing that Liv has struggled with, and the tour frankly has struggled with, we don't relegate enough guys, in my opinion, on the PGA Tour. If there's no relegation and it doesn't legitimize the team thing. And then when they do trades like they just did.
One for ones.
Challenge trades. Well, this harkens back to these franchises being worth something. So all the franchises are quote unquote owned by the players, which means it's owned by Liv. So all the teams are owned by the same entity. So as Baroff put it, they're making trades that wouldn't be allowed in your fantasy football league because there's too unfair.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? How could these franchises be worth anything legitimate if this is what's going on? It seems rigged.
It's like I saw this. It's like the guy a couple weeks ago that went viral because he offered like Tony Pollard and a legitimate opportunity to sleep with his wife to his buddy for Christian McCaffrey. Like, it's got to be something like that, right? Oh God, I mean, like the guy who dominated LIV all year, Taylor Gooch, in exchange for the guy who, like, I don't know if he could pull the club back at a certain point at a LIV event in Matt Wolff is. How can there, like, I've actually talked to a couple people like that work for LIV Golf. I've been to a LIV event as media. There are, believe it or not, there are some highly capable, intelligent people that are working there. Like, if you go to an event, it's very well run, very well run. How is nobody in that building going, hey guys, DB here first, I've been here a month, but it seems kind of weird that Taylor Gooch and Matt Wolff would be a trade that we wouldn't want to kind of think about what it might look like to the general public. It's crazy.
Yep.
So you thought that, like, going to it, if you were just a fan, because that's the one thing that it does look like kind of a lot of fun to go to.
It is.
You're just not too concerned about watching golf.
Yeah, it is. It was a fun event. I went to the Miami event, which was the individual finale last year, so not this year but in 2022, and it was fun. Like, they ran a really good tournament. There was plenty of stuff to do. Our boy Joe Idoni, Tour Picks, I know he took his kid and wrote an incredible article last year after that about what a great time he had and how much fun his wife had and his kid had. Like, they ran a great product. They let people take video, and they don't DMCA or whatever it is when you post it on the internet. Like, they let you do that on like the tour, and it wasn't stuffy. It was a lot of fun. There's music, like I said, and you're seeing great guys hit great golf shots. But yeah, I mean, so I know there are intelligent people working for LIV, but how nobody in the room thought it was a bad idea to put Taylor Gooch and Matt Wolff in a 1-for-1 trade and put that out on the internet is beyond me. Like,
well, Chris, it seems to me like they just want to placate, like they don't want to piss off Brooks. Like, yeah, Brooks, you can get a good player and get rid of the guy you hate.
Yeah, I guess is wielding quite a bit of power on what are they? Smash GC.
Smash GC.
Brooks, the only guy that can like out alpha a guy with like $1 trillion. That's pretty good. I'm
fascinated to see the music aspect if Rahm kind of has the power to nix that entirely, because that man, the slightest movement from a fan usually turns him irate. So I really wonder if the music thing is here to stay if he's going in 2024.
Well, a lot of people keep asking me too. It's like, and we'll get to the mailbag questions, but like, who is next with all of this stuff? Like, there's only so many spots on LIV, and they're almost all full, aren't they?
Yep.
And I mean, until they get enough big names with 2 or 3 more big names with interest, and they all of a sudden go, all right, we're gonna make it 60 guys, and
yeah,
But how does that even work with a shotgun start at that point?
I don't know. I mean, the one thing you got to say about them, and some of it may be because they don't have a plan, but they are willing to pivot quickly. I mean, the league itself has demonstrated that they will pivot away or to something pretty quickly. I mean, shorts, like that was literally a decision they made after the first round of a tournament.
I like that.
Like Greg was like, you know what? Let's just do shorts, right?
I like it.
But I mean, they'll pivot.
Can you imagine
don't like
having to play in pants? That sounds horrible.
Awful.
Yeah, I mean, I only play pants.
That's half the reason I stop in the fall. I don't feel like putting on pants.
I mean, I have a pair of like EVR joggers, the FootJoy ones that are really nice, that I kind of like wear around the house because they're comfortable. But if I have to wear pants, that means it's too cold for me to be playing DB. Not a problem where you're at.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm playing Saturday. It's going to be 62. I won't wear pants, but I mean, I will only play if it's above 50 degrees. If it's 50 and sunny, I might have some joggers on because I'm a Southern boy. So
well, you're in Augusta, right?
Yeah.
So let's say at Augusta National during the Masters, guys got to wear pants. Then it's like cool to watch. Then it's like a uniform. It means something.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, like, who cares?
Yeah, I couldn't care less at all. Except, I mean,
I know we're all tied into the gambling world when it comes to golf, but because I mean, you play a lot of like just even at like your home course, DB. It seems to be taken far more. Golf tends to be taken far more seriously in the south of America rather than the east coast of Canada, where I'm at. People are pretty casual at my club. And Chris, I'd be curious to know about you as well, because dealing with Golf Digest on the other side of the gambling, where it's more of the casual people, like the real golf hardo people. Are these people the worst people on the planet?
Not all of them. Not all of them.
Like I
play
golf very seriously people.
Believe it or not, a lot of the people I work with are the exact opposite. We kind of all know how not good we are. Even the people who are good, low handicaps, we kind of know. We're not making the PGA Tour anytime soon, and we accept that. And we play for $5-10, choose the format on the first tee, and kind of keep it as casual as possible.
Like, what do you see, like, even at a member or whatever it is at some of the clubs that you go to, DB?
Oh, dude, my club, Champions Retreat, that's one reason why I chose it, because it is kind of a blue collar club. It's not a club full of generational money. It's guys who just worked their ass off, built their own business, and now they're there. And so I think our membership is fantastic. Like our guys have a great time. There's music, there's speakers and Bluetooth in every cart. There's music playing in every group. We do gamble on every group's gambling. Every event is a blast. It's a good time. But there's another couple clubs in town that not so much. I mean, there's definitely some twat waffles in those groups that are just anti-fun. I don't usually go to those places, but
yeah, I've been to a couple different places with a few friends of mine who are members at pretty nice clubs. I mean, I like to go play the really nice course. I'm probably not good enough to really enjoy it like some of these people are, but you go meet some of the people afterwards, whether it is like a member or something like that, like the members of the club, and they are legitimately the worst people on earth.
Yeah. I mean, you got to group that. If you got a large club, I mean, you're gonna have it. Like,
yeah, you're gonna have an asshole or two, but like the majority of people who play there shouldn't be just the nut low.
This is true. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be at a place like that either. There's a couple places like that around here, and I'll play the course, once or twice a year with friends or something that are actually cool. But every time I get done, I'm like, man, great golf course, but I'm happy where I'm at. I'm very happy where I'm at.
Yeah, like, but part of golf is, I think people forget that part of golfing is fun, which brings us to the rollback. And Chris, I don't understand this rollback stuff at all. Like what it means for the pros, what it means for me. Can you just give us like the 5-minute breakdown of what all this means?
Yeah, so I could do a short one. So basically last March, they kind of sent out like this is coming, this is the proposal that's coming, and that proposal was essentially a model local rule, bifurcation basically. And a model local rule is a rule that could be enacted for the elite competitions at the best courses and all that. Just for that week, this is what you have to do. This is a rule you have to follow. And that would have been bifurcation, which would have meant just for the pros, this rollback, the ball is going to go shorter for the pros, which I think even as recreational golfers, most of us would have been fine with. But the players and stakeholders in the game, aka the ball manufacturers, gave the USGA and R&A some feedback that they were not going to be for that. Obviously, Rory was for that, as you could tell by his tweet, Rory McIlroy, but some other players in the game were not, which has led to this kind of unification. Everyone wants to play the same ball, same clubs, is the theory. So that has led to this universal rollback for everyone, which means it affects us, recreational golfers as well. So in 2028, it'll go into effect for the pros, not till 2030 for those of us who play recreationally. And essentially, from everything I've read, it's really only going to affect the pros, the elite level players. They might lose anywhere from 10 to 15 yards on this new golf ball. LPGA players will lose anywhere from 5 to 7, 5 to 10, I saw. And then for us, it's 5 or less yards, which, the super smart people on Twitter tell me, you're not even going to notice it. You don't even know how far you hit it now. You're pulling balls out of the woods, pulling balls out of the water and hitting those. So you are kind of irrelevant in all this. But for the pros, it will it will absolutely matter, especially for the longest hitters. That's who's going to affect the most. Although I think most of them will just adjust and end up hitting it, maybe not as far as they're hitting it now, but still plenty far. And of course, all of this is to make, so that golf courses aren't obsolete. I think it's for 2 golf courses on Earth. On Earth, personally, one of those David lives near and can kind of move the Earth at a moment's notice without any regard for how much it costs. And then the other one is St. Andrews, which I understand they want to preserve. But the other theory is they want to bring some of these older courses back into the fold for U.S. Opens and other high-level amateur events. And then, of course, just for sustainability reasons, golf courses, they're making golf courses bigger to keep up with,
there it is. There's the selling point that they need to drive home. Not that I care, because I don't care how many golf courses they build. I'll go play at them. That's fine by me. But if you really do want to sell it as, listen, we're looking out for the environment here. We don't need to take up as much green space in order to build these or build them back out. Less construction that's going on. In fact, we can move the tee boxes up a little bit more, and maybe we can do more and build some trails through the golf course for times when people aren't using it, for more shared green space with the community. DB, isn't that the way we have to play this?
I guess, man. I don't know. I'm convinced nobody's going to be happy regardless. I don't care about any of that, frankly. And I tweeted this yesterday. Like, I have seriously read, I'm cross-eyed reading so many tweets and opinions about this whole thing. And I was like, what is my stance on this? And then yesterday I was like, I don't care. I just know that I'm going to, what you said, Pat, I'm going to have fun playing golf no matter what. And you know what I love the most? And it doesn't matter how far the ball goes. I love the feeling in my hands when I hit it on the titties. When I hit it square and I hit it flush, any club in my bag, the feeling that shoots from my hands up my body is what I love. So whether it goes 250 or 350, I'm good and I'll figure it out, right? Like that's all I care about. I do think that the bifurcation angle would have been the way I would have liked to see it go, because I don't want these golf courses that the pros play and that have historical value like St. Andrews. I don't want those to go away. I don't want those to be a bomb and gouge wedge fest. I think that is poor golf, poor viewing. So I think for the professional game, having those guys play a dialed back ball, or I said this too, they should just all play the TP5X. It's literally the worst golf ball in the world, the TaylorMade TP5X. It goes nowhere. It spins like crazy. Play that ball. Everybody play that ball. And then let everybody else play whatever they want.
I'd like to thank our sponsor, TaylorMade TP5X.
No, I know that's not the case, Pat. No, I do think the bifurcation would have been the best angle, even though I can see where this won't affect, or it won't have a massive effect on the casual. I'm still going to hit it 40 yards past Pat Perry. It's not going to, but I do think the pro game has to be addressed somewhat in terms of these golf courses becoming obsolete. That's to me the issue. But also I can understand the argument that maybe it's not the ball's problem. Maybe it's the forgiveness off these drivers and the fact that you can hit it anywhere. These guys can hit it anywhere and it stays in the yard and still flies 300 yards. Like I can kind of see that angle.
And that's what's next. Obviously, they've all kind of said that at the end of every one of these stories. You'll see that at the end, that what's coming next is the driver head, penalizing off-center hits more. So this is really just kind of the start of kind of dialing the game back a little bit. And also, I would say it is more of a pause just on the distance gains. People are thinking that, this is going to be such a 20-yard rollback. It's more just so that they can't hit it even farther than they're hitting it now, because there's been such crazy gains over the last, whatever you want to call it, 25 years. So this is more of a pause on that, kind of get it under control and rate it in.
Almost back to what we talked to at the beginning of how, my dad is exactly the same way as your dad, Chris. And I don't know about people that you might know, some older people, potentially DB, but like Torrey Pines is a draw for them. It's something that's been around. They love Pebble Beach and just these historic courses. If we can get more of those back into the fold, that's only a good thing. If that's actually what the star is and draws ratings, well, then that's good. That means more people are going to watch because they're familiar with the courses that they're going to go see. And you can bring some of these older ones back in rotation every few years and like get that hyped up for something like that. So I think that's a good thing. And then we talked about the different part if they can integrate with LIV, because as we said, there's 4 tournaments that mean something. And frankly, no one even really gives a shit about the PGA Championship anyway. So there's 3 tournaments that people really care about year over year. That if you can just make that 6, then I think that golf is in an infinitely better spot than it is today if we can just get a few more tournaments that people care about.
You're spot on the golf courses thing. It makes me think another reason why LIV doesn't have the cachet yet, because nobody cares about Crooked Cat. Nobody has any memories about
Sounds
Crooked
like a
Cat.
fucking NFT.
Yeah, in Orlando. crookedcat.eth is a Twitter handle somewhere. Nobody cares about those golf courses because there's no context to them, right? And that was the criticism to LIV when they first came out, where we have context as you get older and you watch this game more and more. Maybe it becomes the only game you can play as you become an older man. And like you realize, man, I remember when so-and-so hit that shot at Pebble or whatever. And that is why I think preserving the ability for these guys in the modern game, in the modern era, to play these courses and not just, be able to compete with a driver, a sand wedge, and a putter, and like work through their bag is important. And LIV needs to figure that out too in terms of playing different golf courses. But that's a different topic.
less TPC, Craig Ranch, and more Harbor Town, I think would do the sport a lot of good.
And it's funny that Harbor Town has held up all of these years as a pretty challenging venue. And it's my favorite course to watch on the PGA Tour. But I think I'm in a vast minority there.
God, it's an awful course to play.
Is it? Why is it so awful?
It is so claustrophobic for someone like me anyway. I don't know about you guys, but
I feel I'm the same way, but no.
Are you saying that if I went on to Pornhub and typed in sprayer, you would pop up off the tee?
Yes. Spray and pray, baby. Spray and pray. Yeah.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, it's on it's one of the top 3 courses I haven't played yet that I'd like to play, just because of what Pat said. Been watching it for so long, enjoyed the way it challenges the players. But yeah, having to be boxed in and be creative off the tee, not my forte, but I still really desperately want to play Harbor Town.
Well, it's one of those courses where obviously I'm going to be terrible at it because I'm terrible. But to watch the pros tackle it, that even when we had the super fields coming out of COVID and when it's an elevated event, everyone can kind of compete in that field. And that's what I like about it. That, look, I mean, if Chris Stroud is ever probably going to win another golf tournament, Harbor Town might be the one. I mean, he's not on the PGA Tour anymore. But if LIV somehow takes over at Harbor Town and he can play his way through LIV Q School, then all of a sudden Stroud is live at one of these, which is fun for me. Like, the U.S. Open has really become the tournament every single year where you look at it, it's like you need to be X long off the tee or you have literally no chance of winning. Mm-hmm. At Harbor Town, everyone's live.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if Trump buys Harbor Town, then LIV's got a chance, I think. I think that's the other reason that I guess they're doing the rollback. But I'm more in favor of a bifurcation thing where you're not just preserving the courses, but you're making it. You're not eliminating a large percentage of the field from being able to contend, and especially as gamblers, that's what we like. We like it when it opens up, right? And it can be anybody. At least I do.
I want to throw it out to people in case they're tuning into golf for the first time in ages. This episode is brought to you by OmahaSteaks.com. 50% off site-wide right now. Code Mayo gets you an extra $30 off with a minimum purchase. Basically, if you want to get a good Christmas gift without having to put your phone down and it gets delivered directly to the people, probably not great for vegans, but if the person in your life enjoys some meat, then OmahaSteaks.com, code Mayo, is where you need to be. And the one and done. You guys playing in the one and done again this year?
I'm in.
If you're going to make me, I'm literally so bad.
Oh, I'm so bad at it too. You should get 5 entries. I did better with that. But it's up to $200 this year to play, but it's from January through August. So it's like $6 a week or something like that. The link's down in the description, or you can go to Fan Golf Champs or FantasyGolfChampionships.com. All those different little hyperlinks work, but you can hit it down in the description. It's a 5 max entry, $200 per entry, but it's 80,000. We didn't increase the amount of people in the pool. We just increased the money that it costs to go into it. So it goes up from 50,000 to 80,000 for first place. I think 56,000 a second. Still completely flat payouts. Like, if you don't ever want to spend time having to make your picks every single week. You don't want to have to listen to me or Chris or DB or whoever is your favorite tout out there. You can just go and pick like one player a week. It takes like 5 seconds. If that's all the time that you want to put into it, and frankly, those are the people that I lose to, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I don't play is because you say it lasts forever. It doesn't. It lasts about 6 weeks for me, because about 6 weeks in, I realized I've forgotten to make a pick 3 weeks out of the 6, and I'm already drawing dead. So then I just stop.
How do you forget to make a pick? There's text alerts that they send you.
I literally do. I don't know, man. I can't do it. I'm an idiot. I can't do it. I never have done it. I think the longest I've ever made it is like May.
Chris, punch in your phone number, and it will send you a text if you haven't made a pick. It's easy stuff.
Yeah, I can handle that. I don't have any kids or anything yet.
Maybe that's what it is. I mean, I don't think I've ever forgotten to make a pick. I forgot during the swing season last week, because I didn't realize they were doing the hero for the swing season one. But that's about it. I was out anyway, and it was the last tournament, so it really didn't matter. I want to get to some of these viewer questions, though, because I threw it out there, and I might as well have to pay off some of them and answer a few of them. I'll start with you, Chris. Will you have any interest in watching Rahm play a LIV tournament?
No, because I didn't have any interest the last few years. Like, you guys are talking about these LIV events, and Dave went to one, and I watched probably 10 minutes total, just to check in and see how the broadcast was working. And that's just the commentators trying to sell you on watching the product. So no, Rahm, I'll be, like you said, I'll be watching the Amex or whatever events, whatever PGA Tour event is on that week that I'm gambling on.
And Dave, for me, it's no, that I will watch LIV exactly. And it's not that I don't watch LIV. I'll turn it on. I'll watch it, have it on in the background. But Rahm being there does nothing for me. Yeah,
it's when I watched it last year, and I watched it sounds like maybe more than Chris. I don't know about you, Pat, but I have watched it. It would be a second screen watch, right? Because like you guys, it's the PGA Tour, because I can gamble on it confidently and track everything. And, that's the first screen. And then LIV would be likely the second screen. But I think with Rahm, I would be a little more likely to have the second screen up and running. And I think also that depends on the golf course and the time. If it's in Jeddah, probably not. If it's, not at Crooked Cat, but in the US, probably.
Like, I wouldn't watch the European tour if it wasn't a thing that was randomly on live at 6 o'clock in the morning when I wake up with my kids. Like, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch
early in the morning like that,
because it's wherever.
Yeah, I'd be a little more inclined to do a little coffee golf casually on that side. But if it's like middle of the night, I'm not staying up for any of that.
There's like, Chris, is there a European event? Like, I like watching the Genesis, but that's a PGA event now. Like, I used to like watching the Scottish Open because you'd get your bigger names there. It was like an anticipation for the Open Championship. That's really, like, it was just randomly in like the middle of September or something. I probably wouldn't care.
Yeah, I'm a National Open guy too, so it was usually Scottish and Irish Open. I definitely kind of look forward to and actually made a point to watch. But other than that, no.
Okay, so DB, this one will go to you. If Rory was to go to LIV, would that be the biggest heel turn since Hogan at the Bash of the Beach '96?
I don't have a whole lot of context on the Bash of the Beach.
It's when
96.
Hogan joined the NWO, man.
Oh, Hulk Hogan. For some reason, I was like, was Ben Hogan alive?
Yeah, Ben Hogan, when he joined the NWO.
No, I do remember that. No, I think Hogan would actually be bigger. Going
Probably,
from
like, I get that LIV is villainized amongst, and like we talked about sports watching a little bit earlier, that it's kind of work that no one cares about the Saudi involvement really anymore, unless that's really the thing that you're clinging on to, Chris. Mm-hmm. But it just feels like more people just don't care about LIV. And people in the golf community, especially the online golf community, forget that most people don't care about golf.
Yeah, kind of a tiny little corner of the world we live in, and yeah, exactly. Most people do not care. So that would be quite the heel turn, though. I agree. I'm not a WWE guy, but it sounds like that was a pretty big one.
That was in
WWF and WWF era too. Come on, Chris.
How old are you? 21?
31. My brother would kill me for saying what I just said, for sure.
So we got thinking WCW is WWF, and we got Dave thinking that Hulk Hogan is Ben. This is quite the chat. So you can tell these are. I bet you that was one of my viewers that asked that question, not one of your guys' followers.
For sure.
On that front. But yeah, let's see. Make the case that this hurts the tour way more than it helps live, because I bet loads of people won't turn it on just because Rahm is there now. Are golf fans the biggest loser in all of this? Now, I think this is sort of the question that we've been trying to answer this entire time. And I actually think that overall it's a good thing for golf because, and it's funny because you say that there's very smart people working at Live. Very smart people working at Live.
We have the smartest people.
But if they were so fucking smart, they would have leaned into gambling a whole lot quicker. And like there's the reason that I find it hard to bet on Live, and maybe I'd be more successful because the moment I started using more and more in-depth stats is the moment I got worse at betting on golf. But they have no stats. Like I don't really know how anyone's doing. You think that with all this money that they have to throw around, $500 million here, $1 billion here, if they're just going to waste money anyway, give us the live feeds. Do all the stuff that we want the PGA to do, but they won't do it because they have no fucking money. If Liv has more money than God, and they have a scramble event, and it's only 4.5 hours or 4 hours per round, it actually seems like a lot of the technology and things that we want, be it green zone, be it whatever it might be, would actually work a little bit better on Liv in a lot of ways and make it easier because you have fewer events. It's only 3 rounds. The infrastructure is there because no one else is playing at these courses. That you can kind of go in and do what you want, and you have access to all this funding and all this technology, and it doesn't matter. It could be a lost leader for you, and you can get in the game here. So when you do merge with the PGA Tour, that this is something that we can get at every single event. This is why I say that's a good thing. The bigger the hole that the PGA gets itself into, sometimes you have to pour some shit when you're gardening on some plants, and it doesn't work really great for the first few months, and then next year when those annuals pop back up again, or is it annuals? I don't garden. Anyway, I just know people pour shit on plants and it works. That's how I think this is working for the PGA Tour, that it's going to end up resulting in a lot of things that we want, but it's going to take some time, and it's going to seem really shitty, like the PGA Tour might go out of business, and eventually they'll merge and everything will be fine. I don't think that we're dealing with an IndyCar situation from the mid-90s here.
I couldn't agree more. I think you said it. When I was at the Miami event last year, I talked to 3 players. They were all 3 asking me and very interested what it takes to get people to gamble on Live. And I was like, well, you got to have some equivalent to ShotLink because we want to track it on our phones. If we can't watch it, we want to sweat it in a meeting under the table, like, ShotLink deal. And that's the first thing you got to do. And you got to have, you got to have reliable data and reliable scoring and reliable people on the course tracking this so that we can trust what's happening. But they haven't done that. And I don't know if the problem is finding a solution that competes with ShotLink, but isn't, some sort of patent violation or something, or if they're just waiting to acquire the PGA Tour somehow in this merger and use it then.
Yeah, because we all know that the PGA Tour does such a great job with ShotLink.
Yeah.
What were those things that they were wearing at the Hero?
Yeah, I was just about to say, did those work? Did we get anything out of that?
I don't know that we heard. I don't know that we heard if they worked.
I mean, I was able to
trial run.
I was able to see where people were at on the course. I don't know if it was accurate or not because I wasn't actually watching it because I was away. But if that works, problem solved, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think everyone's favorite idea, and I don't know how Liv hasn't done this yet with only 48 guys, is having a live feed of a matchup bet, kind of just you can watch, maybe pay for it $1, $2 just to watch, the 2 guys go at it.
No. Here's the move. And something I used to talk about with what I thought the PGA should do for PGA Live. But I don't know how concrete some of these live deals are for TV. They have no digital rights deals with anyone. Though maybe the CW app, whatever it might be. Just sell it to a fucking sports book. In some worldwide and even in Canada, when I go onto the sports book, now it's country by country dependent on the live rights of how some of the stuff works, is there are sports that I can watch on one of the apps in Canada and bet on it at the same time. And it's not they do have 3rd tier Argentinian soccer that I could do the same thing for, table tennis, but there is one sport in particular that I actually do like to watch and watch it through the app, and it's not a insignificant sport. For whatever reason, my camera has froze on me for the second time in 3 days. I think I have to figure out what that problem is going to be. But essentially what it boils down to, if LIV wants more eyeballs on it and wants to get people to gamble on it, make deals with sportsbooks where they stream your content on the sportsbook. Like, DraftKings tried this with a Euro League like 3-4 years ago, actually pre-pandemic, and maybe it didn't work out all that well because maybe no one wanted to watch Euro League at 2 o'clock in the morning, and maybe no one wants to watch LIV. But I do think that having it visible on prominent sports betting apps and then having features where you can like live bet on, like if you want to get live betting on the go, that's how you get live betting on the go, in my mind, at least.
Isn't that kind of like one of the reasons I think LIV is not, at least I found this out last year. I don't know how it stands now. One of the reasons you can't bet on LIV in every state, but you can bet on them in the same sportsbook somewhere else, is because, you know, these different states have different policies and regulations on the integrity policies behind these leagues. And apparently LIV doesn't have a substantial enough integrity policy or committee or whatever in place to safeguard against, you know, crazy stuff happening in terms of their competitions, to make it legal to bet in other states. So I wonder if they've made any ground, if they've made up any ground on that for this year, for 2024, because that may also present a problem with some of these sports books if it's not reliable.
Maybe, but and maybe it's a state by state thing, but I've always been able to bet on LIV, and I know that on DraftKings Sportsbook in most states that you can do it in Jersey, can't you, Chris?
That's a good question. Steve would know because Steve bets on it quite a bit. Steve Hennessy. I know I can on my my offshore local book, obviously, but I think you can on DraftKings as well.
Chris asks, any innovations / new features / upgrades coming to Fantasy National? Yes. And DB, I can't remember. Did I loop you guys in on what we have coming? Like the prototype for it? I'll send it to you after the fact. I don't know when it's going to be done because, listen, I'm not the designer with a lot of this stuff, and it's not going to be anything to the site itself. It's going to be a different product that works in conjunction with Fantasy National. But I'll just say that hopefully, fingers crossed, by the time the Tournament of Champions starts, that you'll never have to use your PGA Tour app again to track scores.
Oh wow. God. That's big news.
Yeah. Like if people thought the site got stagnant over the course of the past year, I would agree with them. But all the essentials were there to continue to use it how you wanted to use it. I mean, I'm still using it all the time, doing my walkthroughs. I do my research on it. But we put all of sort of our eggs in like all of the team that we would have working on upgrades to the site. And the site is still being upgraded, but transitioning, like when the new owner took it over, we had to change servers. So it went from Moose's like weird, I don't know, this is what he tells me. I don't fucking know what any of this means. But his code to the code of this other site to make it like easier to update or something like that. But this app can be a real game changer. I thought, like I told them, they were like, what's the one thing that we can do to acquire new customers? And I think it'll be free, but just to get like more emails, more people on the site to these people's product. And I was like, well, you know, everyone likes golf. People hate how you have to track golf. What if we just made an app that made that super easy for everyone and the way that they want to see it? They were like, all right, how do we do it? And then it's like sketching out things. It's a whole lot harder than I thought it was going to be, put it that way.
Dude, just went 6 to midnight. That'd be fantastic.
Wouldn't it be? Wouldn't it be nice? So hopefully we can beat the market on that and get that out as quickly as possible. And hopefully people still watch golf, because what I hear on the internet is that no one's going to watch golf ever again. Really?
Or play it.
Yeah.
I mean,
quit.
Between that and you talking about how nobody cares about the majors, I'm gonna have to go down after this and figure out how I'm gonna start a new pickleball show.
Yeah. Let's see. Has all the LIV stuff made covering golf easier, harder, or no difference for you? I've lost so much interest in the sport in general since the start of all of it. I would say it's really no different for me. I would say, if anything, it's probably harder for you, Chris, because you probably are forced to cover more like legal stuff and shit like that you kind of have to learn about as you go.
Fortunately, we have much smarter people than I covering that type of stuff, like Joel Beal, who's been all over it since the beginning. So I would imagine, I know for a fact for him, life has not been fun. It's been very hard for him kind of covering all that stuff. So shout out to Joel for being all over it since the beginning. So speaking for him, I would say it's become much harder.
The real deal, Joel Beal?
That's right. He is the real deal.
Has anything changed for you guys, DB?
Not much. I mean, last year or this year, we used us and Joe Idoni kind of covered it. We were a little more involved on some of the tournaments that were a little more intriguing based on the course, but hasn't changed much. But that how he phrased, whoever it was that sent that question, is exactly what I'm talking about. Like what I was talking about in the beginning, how I don't like the longer this fracturing goes on without a solution, it just, all the drama is turning people off. And that's what pisses me off about just golf in general. We had some momentum, we had some intrigue with COVID, and then all this happened, and the drama and the back and forth is just turning people off. And that sucks.
See, the drama would be good if these guys played each other more than 4 times a year.
100%. Yes, agree with that. Yeah, but they're not, or they don't, at least right now. It hasn't, like that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, it's been nothing to me. Like I think Jeff and I did, like we started adding like live segments. We tried a live show and just no one cared.
Yeah.
Like there's the people who do really care, and I think they're faking it. Like I'm pretty sure Cust is faking his love for live, but
I will say when we would post, when Joe would do shows for us, I mean, every comment, and we don't get a lot of comments, but every comment on the YouTube shows was, every one of them, almost 100% were positive, because they were like, thank you for doing some live content. So that there's a small population out there that likes it, or they're loyal to the players and they're interested in betting on it, and they want it. But I do think it's small.
Look, if I could win every week betting on live, and it feels like the markets would be less sharp on live than they would be for the PGA Tour. That like if you could have some real insight to what's going on, you could start winning money. I mean, the only reason that Jeff and I show got popular in the first place is because A, no one else was doing golf, and B, we hit a big winner at the very beginning, so people watched it. If you could do that for live, you could maybe turn that into a show. That
makes me think, like, what do you guys think about Rahm if he goes? And to me, like if Rahm goes, he's a guy that I could see still caring about like winning tournaments and like playing well, unlike DJ and maybe Brooke in the beginning. Are we all ready to just fire on Rahm every freaking tournament at 3-1 to dominate the live scene?
I would have to think so. He was going off at 4-1 in some tournaments on the PGA Tour with 156 people in it last year. Like someone just, this is the next question. Does a live tour win count the same as like the Sanderson Farms, or is it similar to like a Charles Schwab with Rahm on the tour now? I don't think it's equivalent to any PGA win.
I don't either.
It's an exhibition. That's the whole, they need to somehow shed this stigma that this is just an exhibition, which is what it feels like.
Yes, it does. With only 48 guys. But they're never going to go up to 140-man field. So that's obviously out of the question. I guess it's world ranking points would be the next thing. If they can get those, maybe people would see them as legitimate, but I don't know. They still got a ways to go for that.
And of all the things that the PGA Tour has taken from live, these condensed no-cut fields are the fucking worst. Like, why do we do this?
They're the worst. I was just about to say, how much different is it when it's, I mean, obviously I know that the difference is what, like 22 guys and one less round than it will be for a signature event with 70 guys and no cut. That is the only difference. That is the only difference. And so how much more or less of an exhibition is one over the other when we're talking about these signature events? And the world golf ranking, man, God, I mean, in the beginning of this, I was not really seeing the brokenness of the system, but I see it more and more now. And as evidenced by Tiger beating Will Zalatoris last year and getting however many world golf ranking points he got is absolutely insane. Like a live event should get more world golf ranking points than the freaking Hero World Challenge. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but this is a way to get Tiger World's ranking points. So it's set up for Tiger, which I think we're all on board for.
Yeah, I understand the Tiger element, but the world golf ranking is looking more and more like a joke every week.
But how do you fix it, though? Like, how do you properly award world golf rankings to live, Chris?
72 holes, I guess, would be the first answer. I don't know. Now that they have Rahm, I mean, they'll have some decently strong fields when all the guys show up. It'll be like a Hero World Challenge kind of ×2, basically. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is to that.
Yeah, I think that if you're not going to give them world golf rankings, all the majors need to concede X amount of spots to live guys and let them run their own standings. And like, hey, you're inside the top 10, then you automatically get to go. If you're previously qualified, well, you're still taking up one of those spots anyway. So like Phil will still play in the Masters, but he's very unlikely to be inside the top 10 of any sort of live standings. I think that's the fairest compromise because we need the live guys in the majors to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
We need Taylor Gooch, believe it or not.
Yeah, or even Charles Howell III, redemption story. He finally gets his big breakthrough major win after he goes to live. Like, live building up some credibility, I actually think is a little bit better for golf because people see it as a nothing right now. That if it did have some credibility, and like Brooks winning a major was helpful. But the rest of the guys from live who played in the majors were dog shit last year.
100% agree.
And like Cam goes to the Australian Open. It basically comes like dead last. Like that's not a good look when you're supposed to be like one of the 5 best players in the world playing in some jabroni tournament. Not to say that like the best, like Scotty doesn't come in like, you know, the bottom 10 in a tournament because dude can't putt. It happens, but it's just not a great look when you'll have such a small sample size to prove yourself and your tour that it's legitimate and it's meaningful. And it just hasn't figured out a way to do that yet. I guess the other thing would be, what did I say? Is Bubba Watson losing his team, or is he a mad scientist? He definitely went for length with Uline and Wolf, because Uline got traded to Bubba's team too.
Yeah, Uline for HV3. What a swap that was.
I guess Peters is on his way out too, DB?
Is Peters on the way out?
He must be. He's the other guy on the team. Everyone's getting traded.
Dude, to me, I could make a case, and HV3 is a friend. I could make a case that based on last year's performance, HV3 and Peter Uline aren't that much different. So, I mean, I know HV3 won a tournament. Peter Uline, I don't think has, but I still just can't get over the Taylor Gooch, Matt Wolf thing. I don't.
Anyone on this pod that questions Rahm's legacy and intention should have to answer what they would do. Oh, that's not even really a question. Bob Dunn. Bob not getting her done. Please, you got to ask a question. It's supposed to be for questions, not comments.
Nobody's. I don't think.
Is anyone going to question his legacy?
No.
And if majors only mean something, Chris, you pointed out, he's in the majors for the next every major for the next 5 years, the Masters for life. He's going to be around in all of these things. One good placement in one of them over the next 5 years will get him into the ones when he's not qualified anymore. Mm-hmm. By that time, they'll have re-merged, and it's not going to make a difference anyway. That's why I think that Rahm is the sharpest out of all of these guys, because he gets the goodwill for not going as a part of the first wave, yet still gets to cash in when they're going to merge anyway at this point. Like, I don't know why Liv gave him $500 million.
I thought the same thing. Like, what Liv is really trying to force the hand of the tour to make this thing happen. But I mean, how dumb would you feel if you were Rahm and you got offered let's say it's $500 million, and then you didn't take it, and 3 weeks later, everybody agrees to some sort of plan, and you're in the scenario you're in, but you're $500 million less rich. Like, you would have felt like a ding dong.
It's going to happen to Rory, isn't it, Chris? That he would have got $1 billion and he's going to be sitting there with like a novelty check for like $38,000.
Yeah, but at least he took a stand, at least, I guess.
Oh, but the live players will have to pay it back, right? They'll have to pay it back somehow, right? That's what the tours, that's what the agreement said. There would be some penalty as they have to pay it back. Give me a break.
Yeah, it's going to be paid off by Liv.
Right.
That's exactly what's going to happen. That's going to be a part of the deal of the PGA getting the money. It's like, oh yeah, here's the money that the players owe. There you go.
Yeah,
we're funding this thing now, pal. But I don't think that anyone's going to question his legacy, because if he's in the majors, the only way that we judge anyone is based on majors. Like, how many more American Expresses did Rahm need to win before we took him seriously as a player? Who cares? And he won Torrey Pines. He won Memorial. Like, he's won at the courses and tournaments that people care about. Now it's only majors. He won a FedEx Cup. He's done everything you can do on the PGA. He didn't win the Players, so he sucks.
He didn't get the Players, unfortunately.
Oh no, that's too
Ryder
bad.
Cup.
Scotty will have that over him for life, I guess.
Scary Larry asks, do you think this adds more hype to majors? I don't see as much live guys during the year, but do during majors. I'm thinking it might. I think that it does. For me, it does. I just think that there's so much apathy towards live that maybe you don't care. Like, my dad asked me why Dustin Johnson wasn't playing at Pebble Beach last year during the Masters. He's like, I don't remember Dustin playing at Pebble Beach. He always plays in that one. It's like, yeah, he joined a different tour. He's like, oh, okay. Like, he didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right. For the people who follow it, week in, week out, I think we care. We love the drama of those weeks. But yeah, that's a good point. The casual probably doesn't even realize it until they see a headline about it.
What's going on with the merger, by the way? Does anyone know?
Apparently, Jay's swooping in to get pounded by Yasser, I think, to try to do one last effort into making this thing happen before. Isn't December 31st the deadline based on the June 6th PIF situation? So I think honestly, I think the Rahm stuff and all that's going on, I think at the end of the day, I bet there is an agreement finalized by December 31st. And I also think that this time next year, Jay Monahan will not be anywhere around the tour if it doesn't happen before that.
Yeah. Who do you think would be the new commissioner? Tiger? It has to. Like, in order to sell this, it almost has to be Tiger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No way. There's no way Tiger wants to do that.
No, but now he gets cut in for not taking the money too. Dude, like, here you go, Tiger. You get paid $1 billion to be commissioner.
I just don't think Tiger wants to commit that kind of. I don't see that happening. I don't know who it would be, but I just don't think it's Tiger.
I feel like it needs to be a friendly face. All I want is this for them to come back together so we get to re-engage with having Phil and Poulter as potential color commentators on the major broadcasts. Like we're really getting deprived. Like Phil would be awesome at it.
I know he would be. Yeah, the list of potential Azinger replacements is leaving a lot to be desired, to say the least.
I mean, I would love to have Faraday back on my regular. I love David Faraday. I always thought David Faraday was funny. Like I enjoyed listening to him on the weekends.
Who do you think will end up replacing Azinger? Can we get Shane Bacon that job, like as friend of the show? Like he has, out of all the friends of the show, he has the best chance to do this. So I would like to see him. But like even what? I don't mind Johnson Wagner. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, he is good.
Love the stash. Love Johnson Wagner. He's a metropolitan area legend up in these parts. Yeah, that's a guy I haven't really thought of, Pat. That's a good one, Pat. Yeah, Johnson Wagner.
Like his in-studio stuff is pretty good. Like he's still, because if you're NBC, I mean, maybe NBC doesn't exist in 30 years. Who knows? But attaching yourself to someone who might be good that isn't already 61 years old, I think is helpful. Maybe that's just me thinking. I don't know.
My candidate that'll never happen was Matt Every, because I think he's been great on PGA Tour Live, ESPN Plus on the few occasions they've had him. But too young of a voice, probably too scared. He might say something controversial, so he has no chance. But I think Matt Every would kill it.
I think Poulter would be the best for this.
He's a good one too.
But there's no way some big legacy media outlet like that, I think Chris nailed it, like is going to take the risk in some wild card that might, go off the handle and say something that God forbid would be entertaining, but they don't want them to say. So they'd rather have the established, old head, old reliable, trusty, whoever, dusty guy.
They just had Paul Azinger on. He sounded like he was drunk half the time. I don't think he knew what he was saying.
Yeah, but that was kind of that was like more this year, I think. Like I don't think he was always like that. This year he sounded like that because he sounded like he just mailed it in every week. So
Johnny Miller wasn't afraid to say some things.
That's true.
That's true.
And like you had Faldo on CBS. I think that these guys are a bit more like, from like dealing with some of these old heads at some of the courses that there's a certain talk that you can get away with would be, if people really knew what was going on, would be deemed controversial, but they can say certain things.
They ran off Gary McCord for stuff like that, though. Like Gary McCord crossed the line.
But that's because he said like front nine at Augusta.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it was something like completely ridiculous.
Yeah, bikini wax. He said it looks like they manicure the course like it's a bikini wax. I think was the final nail.
Yeah, and it had nothing to do with the imagery of a bikini. It had to be, how dare you disparage Augusta National?
Yeah. Was he with CBS or NBC though?
That was CBS, and they just basically took him off the Masters broadcast.
So NBC should hire him. I mean, he's not NBC isn't. I mean, NBC's obviously at the Masters, but they're not the Masters, broadcaster. So they should just bring him in to replace Azinger.
I think it should be. I would like Brandel too. I don't know if he wants the job, but I think Brandel would kill it in that chair.
Steve asks, Steve Murrin, what's the reason he's leaving? Because he doesn't need the money. You always need the money. I think that's what people don't understand. You always need the money. And that's a completely different set. If it truly is $600 million, that's so much more money than he has. Like, he basically just 30x'd his net worth.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be that. It definitely could be that. I think we kind of touched on it with, too, like if he's starting to see the writing on the wall and they're making the offer and he knows that it's bound to happen, it's bound to be this merger situation anyway. If he sees that, then he'd just be dumb not to. He'd be dumb not to take $100 million.
Yeah. Who would you take at number 3 in a season-long fantasy league behind Scheffler and Vic?
I just did some rankings for this in our Discord. Let me pull up what I just did. I did my top 40 rankings in this.
Speed?
I might say Ludwig for that question.
Not Rory?
I have Ludwig at 5. I have Rory at 3, but I have Ludwig at 5 in my season long.
Because he's going to play a ton, right?
Yeah, you would think.
Ludwig. Yeah. That's why. Yeah, I have him 5. I think 3 is interesting. I don't think that's crazy.
So, like, who's number 4 on your list?
I have Cantlay at 4.
Fuck Cantlay. He should be in last place. I don't even want to root for that guy.
I don't like him either.
I wish he would go to LIV so I wouldn't have to see him again.
He doesn't have the major exemptions like Rahm does. Same with Xander. Those two are dying to make the jump, but then they'd be on the outside looking in. Unfortunately,
what does he care about majors anyway? Just go get the bag. That's all he cares about.
That is true. It seems like that's how he feels. But yeah,
him being sponsored by DeWalt, like Power Drills, is the funniest fucking thing to me in the world. Who's next?
Goldman Sachs, although I think he lost Goldman Sachs.
Oh, it's too bad for him. Who's next with Rahm going? I just don't know how many more guys they can take.
Yeah,
I mean, Cantlay Xander would be the next 2, I think, to fall.
I think that seems to be the popular. I was trying to think if there's another. I'm shocked that some of the. I'm not trying to do this. Like, seriously, I'm shocked that some of the South Korean contingent hasn't jumped and made a team. Like Siwoo Sungjae, who just locked up their they exempted military service, so they're good there. Like a Siwoo Sungjae, Tom Kim, KH Lee, Ben On team would be pretty sick.
If Ben On was asked, he would be there in a second.
Yeah.
I could see more Colin Morikawa too being a candidate for this.
If LIV was smart and they want, who do you think would be the most impactful people to go? Because I think Vic and Aubert would be the 2 right now. Like, if you couldn't get Rory and you couldn't get Spieth, I think those would be the 2 to really just take a jab at the good young talent on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
But that's going to be the PGA Tour's biggest advantage in all of this versus LIV, is that they do have the system to replenish itself with new stars, where LIV doesn't.
Right.
You mean it's not Brian Harmon, Pat?
No, I don't know about that.
No, I agree. I think it's Hovland for sure, and Aberg is interesting.
Does any of this have an impact on betting or DFS? Because I don't think that it does, unless it just creates apathy and people tune out.
I think that's the biggest risk.
The last one, I guess, we'll do this. And Chris, this is for you. Do I need to start hoarding golf balls right now?
It's not a bad idea. I know my colleague Alex Myers just wrote a piece about hoarding a bunch of golf balls. So yeah, I think you'll see in 2030, especially at our level, not the country club member play by the rules level, people just saying fuck it, I'm playing the 2024 Pro V. So I say hoard away. I'm all for it.
All right, DB, what's the schedule for the rest of the year, man?
Oh, dude, absolutely nothing. I'm not doing a damn thing between now and the end of the year, except just getting ready for the new year. So no shows or anything like that for me, unless something like this pops up, which I appreciate you having me on. I was very available, so thanks. Yeah, that's it.
Hey, we have to record, once we figure out who is going to live and not going to live, we can record the PGA Tour salary draft like we do every single year.
Yeah.
That show was an absolute shit show. So Chris, you're invited to come on this year.
Love it.
So yeah, you'll be there for
Be
that. What's
prepared.
going, like, what do you guys have for an end of the year stuff at Golf Digest?
I actually mentioned to DB before the show, I'm going to the father-son next week, the Tiger and Charlie Invitational, although I'm excited to see the Dailies as well, who I think would be back in the field. And then other than that, yeah, just chilling, excited for Christmas, excited to be home, have been traveling quite a bit. And then, yes, once Century starts, it's kind of a full go on the content front again. So it'll get busy again here soon.
Yeah, I'll have my typical Christmas and holiday shows, be it the draft. Jeff and I will do a season preview, a season recap, all that fun stuff. We'll probably get cussed in on that as well. The one and done, please go play in that at fantasygolfchampionships.com. The quicker we can get it filled, that means we might be able to push it to $1 million guaranteed next year, which would be the crowning achievement in my career, I think, that I could build up a pool from
That's awesome,
scratch.
dude.
That someone guarantees $1 million for. That would be just amazing. So need your help with that one going through. And fantasynational.com/Mayo. You can always get 20% off that way. Probably no need to get it right now, but at the start of the new year, when you're getting back into betting and DFS, that would be the way to go. All right. I want to thank my guests for their time. Thank you all for watching and all of the questions. And I will see you next time.